Hi, I'm Vanessa Lech. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in the state of North Carolina. And today I'm going to chat with you about why some people, in my experience, leave social work graduate school, the occupation early before even getting started, and so on and so forth. So, when I was in social work graduate school, there was one person in particular that I remember coming to contact with who just up and left the program. And I thought that they were going to finish the program just and be on the same track as me, essentially, with all of that and pursue licensure. They did not. They said it was a temporary break. My understanding is they actually never came back to the program. And it was things like this, and I'll go into further detail here in a minute, that I never could understand at the time. But now I realize it's actually quite common for people to leave graduate school in these mental health licensing type programs and not come back. And I don't blame them, and I totally understand why they do it now. Back then, the person had cited one reason. I think looking back, there were many reasons why, and I think it had everything to do with the occupation, the licensing requirements, the money, time, energy involved, the graduate program, and the lack of support for the students, and so on and so forth. So back then I was really single-minded and focused, and I used to think like, oh, how could that be? Gosh, you got so much work just to get into these programs and to just get this far and then to just drop out halfway through. Like, how could that be? Knowing what I know now, big picture, hindsight being 2020, I totally understand, and I think that probably was the best option for that person, because if you are know for sure that this is not the right option for you, that this is way more time, energy, money, and stress than you are ready for, and you are aware of that, and you see that going into this, why continue to go down the same road and put, more bad after bad, so to speak? Why put more of your life into something when you could be putting your life into something else that is going to be feeding your soul, essentially? And that's what I think that that person did. And I think it was a great option for them. And I think a lot of people make this decision. And I think it's great when people are able to make an informed decision about their life and their future and not waste precious time and money and energy that they can't get back, especially the energy and the time. Can't get it back. So another person that surprised me as well was after I graduated. So there was a couple of different people, but there was one in particular. They completed the program successfully, and I thought they were going to move forward and do the licensing thing, but instead, they just completely left the occupation. They did not pursue the licensure whatsoever. They did not do any of it. And they just went into a totally different job, actually, that had nothing to do with social work, that had nothing to do with graduate school that they went to. I mean, it was just really shocked me, I've got to tell you. I was really blown away, and I really couldn't figure it out. I think, looking back, that the reason probably was the same reason that a lot of people, once they graduate, may end up leaving and never working in the mental health occupations for many of these programs. I think it's because there are just too many barriers, and there's a total lack of support across the board in many of these states. I practice in New Mexico, and I practice in North Carolina very early on in my career. And my experience was, and I heard from everyone unanimously just about, was that most people aren't getting any support, any help, anything, and they're actually being largely taken advantage of, because people, when they're early on, regardless of your age, when you graduate school and you're early on trying to get these licenses, it makes a person, a professional, more vulnerable to potential exploitation and exploitative employers and practices. And so you have people who are facing long hours, high stress. These days, it's even higher potential liability than ever before, in my opinion, and higher everything, higher rates for fees for insurance, higher for like medical malpractice insurance, hire dealing with these awful health insurance companies in some cases, and having to pay out of pocket for clinical supervision in many cases, and the list just goes on and on and on. It's a total nightmare, basically, for practitioners. Even if you're fully licensed, it's a total nightmare. But it's especially a huge nightmare if you're not fully licensed and you're having to answer to all these different people, pay out all this different money, spend all this different time and energy doing this. And I think that this person looked into it, what they would have to do to work in that occupation like they'd planned, and I think they opted all the way out. So I have no idea what they did with their degree, if it was at all useful. The job that they took had nothing to do with their degree. And it seems like, of course, that's the trend in America, where a lot of people get these degrees of all different kinds and then don't even use them. And so they spent years and money and maybe in debt for something that they cannot utilize. And that is really tragic on a level, because it really puts people in a desperate financial situation, potentially in a really bad professional situation as well, when they could have been pursuing something else instead of wasting time in an area that they won't be using at all. And that's why I think it was really good that one person I knew that exited social work graduate school mid program fairly early on, goes towards the middle of the program, and didn't look back. And I just think, you know what? They made a really good decision for themselves. So those are some of the reasons why people will leave the social work occupation before they even get started, or reasons like that. All right. I wish you all the best. If you're interested in these topics, check out my other videos. Bye.